People like to say engagement parties are chaotic in a happy way, champagne glasses clinking, relatives speaking too loudly, the quiet hum of music trying to keep everything stitched together. That night, everything felt exactly like that. Too bright, too loud, too full of people who had known me my entire life. My fiancé Daniel stood beside me, greeting my extended family like he'd been rehearsing for weeks. He had that steady calm about him that made people trust him quickly. I had always admired that. I, on the other hand, had grown up in a family where calm usually meant something was about to shift. My younger sister, Leela, floated between groups of guests like she owned the room. She always had that effect. Fragile when it suited her, radiant when attention landed just right. Growing up, everything had eventually circled back to her. When she struggled in school, family plans changed. When she needed financial help after dropping out of college twice, my parents found a way. When I graduated and quietly paid off my own student loans, the dinner that night somehow turned into a conversation about how stressed Leela was feeling. None of it had ever been cruel enough to confront. Just consistent. But the engagement party felt different. When my parents offered the 40,000 wedding fund months earlier, I had been surprised, not overwhelmed. Just surprised. It felt like recognition, or maybe balance. Daniel squeezed my hand while my aunt finished telling a story about when I was 10 and insisted on organizing the neighborhood garage sale like a small CEO. Everyone laughed. Then my father tapped a fork gently against a champagne glass. The sound cut through the room. My stomach tightened instantly. Years of instinct. He stood near the center of the room with my mother beside him, holding a microphone borrowed from the DJ. My daughter, he began warmly, smiling toward me, has always been responsible, always steady. People nodded. I could already feel where this was going, even before the words formed. And Daniel, my mother added, we're so happy she found someone who understands her. Daniel leaned slightly closer to me, listening. Then my father cleared his throat. As many of you know, we had planned to contribute $40,000 toward their wedding. A ripple of approving murmurs. But after some family discussions, he continued carefully, we realized that Leela is going through a difficult time right now. She needs a fresh start more than anyone. There was a pause. The room shifted slightly. So we've decided that the wedding fund will go toward helping her rebuild. Someone in the back gave a polite clap that died quickly. I felt Daniel's hand tighten around mine. He looked at me confused, waiting for my reaction. For a moment the old reflex surfaced. Smile. Make it easy. Don't create a scene. I could see my parents watching me, expecting that same quiet compliance I'd practiced my entire life. The strange thing was, I didn't feel angry. Not really. Just clear. I took a slow breath and stepped slightly forward. That's fine, I said. My voice carried enough for the room to hear without the microphone. A few guests relaxed visibly. But I lifted a finger slightly. Just one thing. My parents looked at me, mildly confused. I actually moved the money last week. The silence that followed was deeper than before. My father frowned. What do you mean you moved it? I noticed some hints over the past few weeks that the plan might change. I said, calmly. So I transferred the funds when they cleared. My mother's expression tightened. You transferred it where? I glanced at Daniel briefly. He looked stunned but attentive. Into a joint housing account Daniel and I opened. A few guests exchanged looks. It's already committed to a down payment we're finalizing next month. I added. The room held that strange stillness where people pretend not to stare. My father lowered the microphone slowly. That wasn't your decision to make, he said quietly. I kept my voice even. It was once the money was given to us. My sister stood across the room, frozen halfway between embarrassment and disbelief. No one shouted. No one argued. But something important had shifted. My parents had made their announcement expecting control, expecting that public generosity toward my sister would define the moment. Instead, the moment had simply ended. Without their leverage. The DJ awkwardly restarted the music after a minute. Conversation slowly returned, though quieter than before. Daniel leaned toward me. "You planned that?" he whispered. "Not exactly," I said, just prepared. He studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly, not impressed, not shocked, just understanding something new about me. Across the room, my parents were speaking in low voices, their earlier confidence gone. Leela avoided my eyes for the rest of the night. Later, after the last guests left and the restaurant lights dimmed, Daniel and I stood outside in the cool air. He slipped his hand into mine again. "You okay?" he asked. I thought about the evening, about the years that led up to it. "They'll probably be upset for a while," I said. That's not what I asked. I looked back at the dark restaurant windows. For most of my life, I had waited for fairness to arrive naturally. Quietly. Eventually, tonight I realized something simpler. Fairness wasn't something my family knew how to give. But it was something I could protect. "I'm okay," I said, and for the first time, it felt true.